I'm Charlotte McLeod with investingnews.com, and here today with me is Jeff Clark, editor of Paydirt Prospector. Thank you so much for being here. Great to have you.
Thanks for having me back, Charlotte. It's great to be here.
Yeah, of course. Really good to be catching up in person. And I want to look all the way back to the conversation we had here this time last year.
Yeah.
So you were telling me at that time that when somebody like Jennifer Aniston is calling you to ask about gold, that's when you'll...
remembered that, okay.
I do. That was a good one. So that's when you'll know we're at the top. So I have to start by asking, has somebody like this called you yet?
No. Jennifer Aniston has not called or anybody like it.
Yeah.
So we're safe for now. That'll only happen when things go absolutely crazy. Gold and gold stocks in particular, when we're seeing doubles and triples and 10 baggers and all that kind of thing. So, but I will tell you, Charlotte, if she calls, I'll let you know.
Please do let me know. And that's just to give us a bit of an idea where we are right now in this cycle. So with that in mind, do you have a gold price forecast for 2025 since we're at the beginning of the year?
Oh, I think it easily goes to 3,000. We are in a bull market. It started, in my opinion, on leap year day last year, 2024, because the day before the Fed said, hey, we're going to end up cutting more than we think. And the gold price ignited. That's since changed with the Fed, but the gold price has not looked back. So we are in a bull market. Now it's simply a waiting game until the stocks begin to catch up to that.
Yeah, I think it feels strange to say this, but 3,000 does feel pretty attainable right now.
Yeah.
So for gold, top factors that you'll be watching this year when it comes to price influencers?
Oh, geez, it could be anything. It could, a lot of people still talk about the debt. Something could happen there. It could be geopolitical. It could be political. It could be some type of crisis. The great thing about gold is you just need to own a meaningful amount that would have a positive impact on your portfolio, normally a hedge against other things that are falling. And then you don't need to worry, okay, what's the next catalyst going to be, or what's going to happen next? What could the crisis be? You know what? I went back and looked at all the crises since the 1970s, and almost half of them were black swans. You can't predict what's going to happen, so you just need to own enough gold to make sure you withstand whatever comes our way.
Yeah, so it's not about predicting the black swan. It's knowing that something will happen.
Exactly, and I think something will happen. We're going to have another crisis, again, whether it's related to debt or something monetary, financial, geopolitical. There's a lot of vulnerabilities out there that could positively impact the gold price and give us that hedge that we all look for with the gold price.
Yeah, I was sitting in on some of those geopolitical panels downstairs today, so definitely there's so many different things that could happen. And
yes.
How could you possibly know? So let's take a look at silver as well, because I know you're going to be on the Silver Outlook panel here at VRIC coming up. So silver definitely made moves in 2024, but I know there's disappointment from investors that it didn't move higher. So this year, are you looking for a breakout?
Yeah, gold was up last year, as we all know, was the second best performing major asset class behind the NASDAQ, and the third was silver. So silver underperformed gold, but that's typical in the early stages of a bull market. This bull market, again, in my humble opinion, is less than a year old, and it's typical for gold to lead, silver to lag. But before the bull market is over, I think, as many of the audience know, silver tends to outperform gold on a percentage basis. So that's still ahead. So does that happen this year? I don't know. To be honest, I don't want it to happen too fast because silver is so darn spiky, and those spikes, the longest one was like 13 months. So I want this to be a slow building, strong bull market. But I think silver is going to end the year higher, as will gold, in my opinion, and the silver equities will follow sooner or later.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about a silver price move is that when it comes, you know you're getting closer to the end, right?
You could be. There were actually two big spikes in that bull market from 2008 to 2011. But yeah, the issue with the spikes are they're very big. They tend to be very big. The average is a double in the silver price, but it tends to give a lot of that back right after the spike is over. Doesn't mean the bull market is over, but that spike tends to ease off. So does that happen in 2025? It easily could. Does it wait till 2026 or later? It easily could, I just want to be prepared, and that's the message to investors. You have to be in before that happens because it's so quick, it's so volatile is so violent that when it ignites, that if you're not in, you're going to be chasing it at much higher prices.
Okay. Thank you for going into that. And so, of course, we've talked about we're here at VRIC, but I know that you also presented recently at the Metals Investor Forum. And I want to bring that up because you had such a great presentation title. So it's my psychic gave me the answer to your number one question about junior mining stocks. And I have to ask about that. I didn't get a chance to see it. What was the question? And of course, we want to know the answer briefly if you could.
The number one question every mining stock investor has right now, especially if you're in the juniors, is when is this going to happen? Well, I presented a chart. One of the charts that my psychic gave me was a chart that showed all the lengths of the down cycles in gold stocks. Not gold, but gold stocks. So the period, how long did the down cycles last? The period from the last high to when it started up again. There was a big range. The average is about 2.5 years, but the longest one is 4.4 years. We are currently, as you and I talk, at 4.3 years. So we're at the second longest down cycle for gold stocks. So that obviously means we're very stretched, and historically it's saying that we're near the end of this thing, the down cycle. So I'm personally being fairly aggressive in buying, and I'm still being selective and all that, but I'm not holding back. And when I find something I like, that I'm going to buy it because I do think that this down cycle is coming near its end.
Well, that's very interesting. So when people are feeling like this is taking a while, that's actually by the numbers, that's accurate. This is taking...
Yeah, I mean, look, gold and gold stocks especially cycle. They have big run-ups and they have big drawdowns. And I have a chart in the book, Paydirt, that shows these cycles and how big the up cycles were and how big the down cycles were. And so we're obviously in a down cycle. We're approaching, the end of that, so it's time to be, aggressively selective. Let's put it that way.
Okay, very good. And so looking more closely at the juniors, so we're waiting for this to happen. One thing I've started to hear from various people is, in a bull market, or gold, for example, we expect them to see those across-the-board gains. But I've been starting to hear maybe it's not going to play out quite like that this time. Maybe it will be those select ones and some get left behind. Would you say that's accurate?
I think that'll always be true to a certain extent. When I looked back at the 1970s, I actually sent my nephew to the library, and he had to use the microfiche tool, to look it up because there was no, it wasn't digitized back then. But he found dozens and dozens of examples at stocks that on average went up 4,000%. Amazingly, there were also stocks that lost money during that period of time for whatever reason. And so you're always going to have to be selective. But I think the gains that we could see could match what we saw in the 1970s.
Okay, and I think everybody always wants to know favorite stocks. We're here at VRIC. Any companies right now that you would mention, can be gold or otherwise, maybe just to be thematic, any that are down on the show floor?
Oh, I think, I don't know exactly who's here and who's not, but one that I'm particularly excited about is Helios Star Metals. Great story there. That's on our free site. You can read our analysis for free. Another one is Radisson Mining. I really like them. Aggressively drilling. That's on our free site as well. Oh my gosh. And we have copper and uranium. So there's a lot there on the site, both free and then in the paid newsletter, which is a little more aggressive.
Yeah, so we'll include the links so people can go take a look there. And I know you're active on Twitter talking about the companies as well. Yeah. So just to get a little bit current events here. So we're talking, Trump is set to begin his second term as president very imminently right now. There's a lot of, I think, uncertainty, but also a lot of optimism about what this could mean for the mining industries. So does that change your investment approach at all? Or is there anything that you get more or less interested in?
The good thing about what Trump will probably do, at least what people believe he will do, is he'll streamline permitting, development, anything around that. I don't think he's going to destroy the environment. I think he's going to streamline things because some of the permitting timelines can be long. Nevada's pretty good, but everywhere else it can be long. So I think that'll be good. What could be potentially bad is, if the tariffs really do kick in the way that people believe, that's probably going to raise inflation, which will raise costs to not just producers, but the developers and even the juniors. So there's a balance there. I think in the end, it'll all work out. Bottom line, though, it doesn't change how I select a stock. I have my criteria. I'm looking for who is best of best, in my opinion, and I'm still going to buy them regardless of what Trump may or may not do.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it, because there can be a tendency, I think, to change your strategy based on these events that are occurring. So that makes sense.
I wouldn't, because you know what? A discovery is still a discovery. A-Mark Resources, look at what happened to them. They went up 171% the other day in one day on one drill report. And they have more coming out. So that's the kind of thing that can happen. That will still happen regardless of what Trump is doing. So that's what I'm focused on.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And now I feel like I know what you're going to say, but I want to bring up Canada as well, because we're here at a Canadian event. We've got people thinking a lot about the impact of the tariffs, but also thinking about change in power in Canada, because we had Justin Trudeau resign. We're waiting for our new prime minister. Probably we're going to get an election sooner than later. So any thoughts on that up here?
I think permitting is taking longer than it reasonably should. So hopefully whoever gets in office will take a little bit more reasonable approach to permitting. There are many investors I know that won't invest in certain provinces, and I'll leave them unnamed, just because of the permitting problems and things like that. So I would like to be optimistic. I don't know that Trudeau, I'm not a Canadian, but I don't know that he really helped the mining industry that much. So, but again, I think in the big picture, I'm still going to focus on best of best. And that may include looking at certain provinces. Canada is still a very rich country with resources. So, I still want to invest here. And so politics will be part of the consideration, but it won't be the only consideration.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for going into that, even as not a Canadian. I appreciate that. So I think this is a fun question. We'll see if it will be fun. I like to ask this one either at the end of the year or beginning of the year. As we're looking forward into 2025, what do you think will be the best performing commodity?
Oh, that's a good question.
Maybe gold or silver, I don't.
I think gold probably will still lead silver. So I think I would choose gold. Now, that doesn't mean I'm ignoring silver, but your question, I think gold. And secondly, I think copper might be the sleeper here. A lot of people have been talking about it, but the price hasn't moved that much. I think 2025 could be a good year for copper. So I'm focusing on those metals and probably uranium as well. Uranium might be the runner-up here, the third place. And I'm looking at the equities, selectively in those metals.
Yeah, I've been starting to hear a little bit more talk about copper in 2025 as one that might be a standout. Do you want to briefly talk about the case for copper? Because previously, I think I was hearing from a lot of people, that's like a longer term kind of story.
It is a longer term story, but that doesn't mean it's not a short term story too. We're coming up to where demand is going to exceed supply very soon. It has political backing because it's green energy, it's electrical. Anything electrical requires a lot of copper. There's more copper, believe it or not, in an EV than there is an internal combustion engine vehicle. A lot of people don't know that. So the demand is going to exceed supply. It has political support. It has green energy support. So it has, pardon me, it has all the tailwinds behind it that could make it a good year. So we have that support, and now our job is to go out and find who the best, copper companies are.
Yeah. Okay, that'll be a task for 2025 for sure. So as we wrap up, I know you've got places to be. Any final thoughts you would leave investors with heading into the new year?
Oh, I think you have to be long. I think, A, we're in a bull market. B, the downtrend in gold stocks is near record levels. So that doesn't mean it's going to start, this month. But, we're very stretched in the length of the down cycle of gold stocks. So I think you have to be long. Make sure you're balanced. But this is a great time to be a speculator, especially with how beaten up some of these stocks are.
Okay, I think that's a good place to end it on, and definitely we'll be checking back with you later in the year to see how things are playing out. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Charlotte.
Of course. And once again, I'm Charlotte McLeod with investingnews.com, and this is Jeff Clark with Paydirt Prospector. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. We'd also love to hear your thoughts, so leave us a comment below.